What gives us awareness?
Why do some think these questions are not original with me? Plato asked them 2,000 years ago. That mind was one thing, matter another. Was he for space? I'm sure that a thought or a feeling does not. Today, the human brain is being studied in laboratories all around the world. One of the largest laboratory settings is at the National Institutes of Health at Bethesda, Maryland. Here, the director of basic research on the brain is Dr. Robert Livingston. Bob, what does brain research tell us? Things like consciousness and emotions and appetites.
Eric, we're a long way from anything like complete answers to questions like this, but the answers will come. I'd like to tell you something that we know about two parts of the brain, the cortex on the surface and the brain stem down here. This folded sheet of tissue here is called the cortex. We know that it relates to our motor and sensory systems. Specific areas of it relate to our body movements, our speech, our sight, and our ability to hear.
But Bob, all this gray matter looks alike. How do you know those things?
One way to find out, Eric, is in the hospital operating room, such as this one at the Johns Hopkins Hospital, Baltimore.
Nil, 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 nil.
Off.
Nil.
There is no response from that point. Well, now, you can see that we've obtained no
Epilepsy for 7 years.
over this portion of
In this brain operation, they hope to remove a scar which causes these seizures, and he has a 50-50 chance to be entirely normal afterward with no seizures.
How dangerous is the operation?
It's not dangerous. There's no risk to his life in this. The brain surgeon down there is Dr. Earl Walker. This is not an experiment. Dr. Walker must determine the location of certain brain functions in that particular patient. He does this in order to avoid injuring vital brain areas during the operation itself.
Now, if I stimulate again, a little lower down along this same convolution,
That pencil-like instrument in his hand is an electrode. Each time he applies it to the patient's brain, a weak electric current stimulates that part of the brain. You'll see how it evokes a body movement or a sensation.
ready, on,
Nil, 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 nil. There was no movement, sir.
nothing at all. Buddy, did you feel anything?
Yes, I did.
What?
I felt that my hand was numb.
Well, the whole hand?
Yes, sir, my hand and fingers.
Point and finger, I see.
He's awake through all this?
He's awake through it all. He can tell the surgeon things that will be helpful to the surgeon in terms of this brain mapping.
That's why he's kept awake.
That's why he's kept awake.
Is it true that one does not feel pain in the brain itself?
No, it doesn't hurt to stimulate the brain.
Ready, on.
Nil, nil, nil.
Now, if I stimulate again, further forward, ready, on,
Nil, nil. Left hand is shaking. Left wrist is twitching. Left wrist is twitching. Left wrist is twitching. Stop.
stop. Twitching of the left wrist and hand. You can see that there was a response from stimulation of that point in the left hand and wrist. Once more, ready? On.
The left wrist is beginning to flex.
Off.
The left elbow is bending. The fingers are twitching. The hand is twitching. The arm is shaking. Stop.
Buddy, what happened?
My fingers and hand moved.
Did you move them?
No, I didn't.
This I don't quite understand, Bob. Why do you have to remap, rechart each individual brain? Aren't they all alike?
One brain is not exactly like another any more than our faces are exactly alike.
All ready? On.
Nil, 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 nil.
Ready? Off.
No,
Anything
no
happen?
movement, sir.
Nothing at all. Buddy, did you feel anything?
I didn't feel anything, but I heard something.
What did you hear?
It sounded like music.
Was it any particular piece that you could recognize?
No, but it's something like I've heard before.
Was it a band or an orchestra or just an instrumental piece?
I couldn't tell, but
That was a part of the patient's memory, Eric. The electrical activation of that particular part of his brain brought out that memory.
Buddy, I want you to help me this time. I want you to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so forth. And to keep on counting, and not stop on account of anything. You understand?
Yes.
Okay, buddy, let's go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
On.
Nil, nil.
Ready? Off.
7, 8, 9,
Buddy, why did you stop counting?
12, 13.
Buddy,
I just couldn't help it.
you knew that you weren't counting?
I tried to, but for some reason I just couldn't.
Couldn't count. All right. All right, now, buddy, you ready again?
Yes.
Bob, then the cortex is like a mosaic, with each part responsible for a specific action or sensation. It's what makes us see and feel and move.
That's partly true, Eric. You may have noticed when Dr. Walker stimulates the cortex and the patient gives a response of a movement or tells what he feels, it's very detached, it's impersonal, it's unemotional. It's an automatic response, and the patient has no direct control over it. He doesn't seem to belong to it, as it were.
Well, Bob, then where are the centers that really control our movements, that create our emotions and our appetites and make us do what we do? Where do we really live?
Eric, we live downstairs in the old primitive brain that lies covered with cortex in the center of the brain. The cortex that covers the outside of the brain is a relatively new development in the scheme of evolution. Look at this plan of the brain of a frog. It's all old brain. When we come to a primitive reptile, we see it's only a smidgen of cortex. The bird has only slightly more. But when we come to the first mammals, we begin to see more and more cortex as we go on up the scale of evolution. Finally, in man, the cortex mushrooms out, covering the whole outer surface of the brain, enclosing this primitive brain. If you take the cortex of the human brain off, you can see the old brain hidden underneath. And here it is, on the other side, the brain stem and the old primitive brain making up the center, enclosed by the cortex. This old brain has persisted through the whole line of evolution, Eric.
You mean that my brain is organized on the same plan as a snake's or a frog's?
Yes. Although your brain has undergone a lot of elaboration and expansion, it's 1,000 times heavier than a frog's and means much more to you in terms of what you can experience and are able to do.
I thank you. Tell me, Dr. Livingston, how do you know exactly what the old brain downstairs there actually does?
Well, Eric, we take advantage of the very fact that the animal's brain is built on the same plan as our own. So we can study these functions in animals, draw conclusions from them, and from that make predictions and understand more about our own brain. See these electrodes, Eric? 25 years ago, Walter Rudolf Hess in Zurich developed a technique